Welcome to the assured live stream on the Eindhoven demonstration. In this session, we will tell you more about how the operation of e-buses and charging can be scaled up in a smart and more cost-effective way. In this case, resulting into a plan to further extend the existing fleet of 43 electric VDL articulated buses in Eindhoven with another additional 60 electric buses. As easy as this may sound, the complexity is the time frame of this upscaling and the goal to come to one integrated fleet instead of two different separate fleets. Now, the original fleet was put into service back in 2016, then one of the earliest operational e-bus fleets in Europe. The second phase should be ready and start this year in 2022, 5 years after start of operation. In this time frame, many improvements have and will be made. So the real objective, therefore, is to apply the lessons learned on both a new fleet and the existing fleet. With me, I have Alex de Jong. Welcome, Alex. You are Business Manager, Public Transport, VDL Bus and Coach. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
And Thomas Gerrits. Welcome to you as well, Thomas. You are Research and Innovation Manager from Heliox.
Yes.
Good to have you. And I suggest, gentlemen, that we are going to start with a video about the current Eindhoven operation. Alex, could you give us a short insight into the history of the electric bus project in Eindhoven? Where are we coming from?
Yeah, we're coming from a period where we are starting before 2016, when we started operations in Eindhoven, with a period that we were really exercising, starting with pilot projects in Europe, mainly in the Netherlands and Germany for us. Starting with one-off vehicles, electric vehicles, as more prototypes and serial production vehicles. To learn about e-mobility in general. How can we operate a full electric bus into day-to-day operations in the cities? And that was in 2013 to 2015, starting in 2016. And then in Eindhoven, it was changing a lot for the future. And why? Because the province of North Brabant, the area in the southern area of the Netherlands, including also the province of Limburg, they said, okay, we want to challenge, in fact, the market. We want to go for full zero emission operations on public transport.
Full zero emission.
Yes, full zero emission on a very, on a time frame which was really short, in fact, because I said we have our goals, sustainable goals in the Netherlands, where we want to have 2025 operation of full electric vehicles already in place. This was in 2016. At that moment, we just had just a few pilot projects with very few vehicle numbers. That was it. Then the provinces said, okay, then we're going for a concession, which is implementing zero emissions. It was funded by the Dutch government. There's also some funding back available to really make the big step from small operations, small vehicles, or limited amount of vehicles to full-scale operations. Limburg was one of the situations, the provinces starting there, but also Brabant. And Brabant started with the next concession, where at that moment the Hermes, which is part of the Translab group, was already operating the fleet, but they had to go for the next period on the concessions. In the end, on the new concession, which was really a zero emission concession for the future, Hermes won again. So the Translab group from Paris, they won again the operations in the Eindhoven area in North Brabant, which was the region's southeast Brabant. So it's not complete Brabant, but southeast part of Brabant. And Hermes had to start operations with a big fleet already from December 2016 to start zero-emission operations in the Eindhoven city itself.
So Hermes won, but you won as VDL. You won the contract too.
Yes,
because
that's correct.
you were the ones who supplied the 43 buses then to Hermes.
Yeah, we took the challenge together with the Hermes, where in fact everybody said, okay, now we have to do it. Now we have to go for a full-size operation. And this is a big one because it was not done at all in Europe. It was never happened that a big fleet of zero-emission vehicles were in operation already available. So it was the first step, which was new for everybody on the large scale. And we said together with Hermes, we are going to do it. And we find our partners in the region to start up this project, which had to start operations in December 2020 or 2016.
For sure, it came with a lot of challenges. But maybe you will tell us later about it. It was the first big project, Thomas, for VDL. But what was the starting point for Heliox?
It was quite comparable because for us this was also the first big implementation with 42 charging points, basically in the form of a contact hood on the ceiling or outside on a charging pole, to basically supply 36 indoor depot charging points or 6 outdoor opportunity charging points. So yes, also for Heliox this was really a big implementation with a lot of new challenges for us in the implementation and in cooperation with all the partners.
But tell us, what was the main difference for you as Heliox in the installation compared maybe with the smaller installations you had done before?
Yeah, basically there were a few differences. So one was that basically the charging positions were next to one another. So we were not allowed to put the charging equipment in between. The bus drivers need free space to maneuver their vehicles. So the charging equipment was located in a corner of the depot. This basically required a lot of mutual cabling. That was also seen in the video to go parallel towards the roof of the depot and divide it over the whole installation site, basically. So the chargers located there were 10 high-power opportunity chargers that are capable of doing 300 kilowatts each. And they were all connected to a smart switch that allowed them to either charge position A or B of a parking lane, basically. So those two positions were charged from one 300 kilowatt charging system, and for the overnight charging, 30 kilowatt chargers were used. And they were there in the form of a 2x30 charging cabinet. So each charger could supply 2 positions, all again, one behind the other. And with that, in total, 42 charging positions were supplied.
Yeah, quite some changes between the installations from back then and now. But Alex, so this first big project came with a lot of challenges. Tell us some more about these challenges you faced.
Yeah, already also mentioned a little bit by Thomas, but it was a big challenge because the technology was really innovation. Yeah, it was not a technology which was available for large scale operations already in practice reality. So we had to use the components available. You had to use the batteries available in the market, which were not the full size batteries as we have today. So we have smaller batteries. We had quite heavy batteries in general. They were more heavy as today. We had quite some challenges when it comes to the cost side. It was more expensive, the operation, than diesel operation was in the beginning. But we said, okay, these challenges we have to take, and we have to find solutions for this. So what the challenges was really on the technical side, but also on the operational side. And also Thomas already mentioned a little bit, it's on the grid side and the charging side, it's really about a combination. So we were taking this as an approach. We have to build up a system, and the system is about the vehicles, the batteries included, the charging strategy you take, the way of charging. Do you take pantographs or do you take plug charging? But also looking at the efficiency of the vehicles, how to manage, let's say, the climate system of the vehicle, how to manage the way the vehicles drive in the operations. And all this for articulated buses. I mean, the easiest part should be to start with a normal solo bus, but that's not what we did. We started with the articulated buses in the city, which were driving on the heavy-duty lines in the city, 8 lines in one shot.
Yeah. I also can imagine that it hasn't been easy, to put it mildly, to find the right charging locations.
No, that's correct, because we were looking at how to charge, how to do the charging strategy, because we knew we have a vehicle which has a battery which cannot drive all day with one charge. So we had to charge during the day. And then you have to find the best way to do this. And then in the Eindhoven area, now to Eindhoven city, we have lines where the end point of the lines is not in the city center. It's not at the bus station or the railway station. The end of the line is always somewhere out in the city itself. So having the end of line charging would have a disadvantage, because then you need more vehicles and more charges, because the lines are different. We have 8 different lines, and on 8 locations you need charges. And on the city, or let's say the train station, the railway station, it was not possible to put a charger there, because the buses were arriving but leaving 1 or 2 minutes later again. Yeah. So we found another solution together with the Hermes, Transdev, where we said, how can we optimize this, and what can we do about it? And then the idea was very clear. Okay, we need to control, in fact, the situation that the driver can drive his whole time shift between, let's say, coffee break to lunch, or lunch to coffee break.
Lunch to coffee, yeah.
All the way with one charge, and then at the next coffee break, he has to charge. And where can we do the charging? Now, then we found out that the depot of the Hermes was 1 kilometer away from the central station, where all the buses are coming for their lines.
That's okay, 1 kilometer.
Yeah, that's great. So 1 kilometer is not a lot, it's very close by. So we said, okay, then we do the operation this way, that we can drive 2.5, 3 hours at a row for between the coffee break and the lunch break of the driver. And then we will charge the vehicles at the depot. And at the depot, we have plenty of space. There's possibilities here to charge, but we also have the possibility to change the drivers during the day.
All right.
Without having a cost effect, negative effect on the driver side or on the vehicle side. So in this way, you can have as less as possible vehicles, but also a very optimized charging system and a very optimized timetable for the drivers.
So in a very close cooperation with your partners, you were able to find the ideal charging locations, then,
exactly.
we could say.
Exactly.
Then if we go back to 2016, then what would you say were the principles you based the whole project on?
The principles was, firstly, it was about the smart grid. How can we have a good grid together with the flexible charging, and to have also the operations in place for the whole day of operation of driving vehicles, but also having the batteries charged in time, not to have vehicles standing somewhere in the city without a battery which is full. So that's one. So how to charge and having a smart grid on the depot. Then looking at the situation in the depot, secondly, on how can we optimize the depot, and Thomas already explained quite some things about that, about the chargers, where to position them, how to connect them, and how can we, let's say, multiple user charges, not only for the overnight charging, for also balancing the batteries, but also for the fast charging sessions during the days. And we also took in consideration, for example, the rush hours in the traffic. Because in the morning and in the afternoon you have rush hour, and then you need all the vehicles, and in between you have more time to charge. And thirdly, we were looking at how can we make it also more future-proof, and how can we make a system which is based on the standards. And there Assured comes into place. It's in fact what we did for the Assured project. How can we come to a situation that we have a standardized protocol which can be used future-wise also for other brands of vehicles or other brands of charging infrastructure? Yes, to have it interoperable in operations. Not to have a locking for the customer, in this case Transdev Hermes Group, that they have to buy VDL or Heliox, which of course we like to have, but in the end we need to have an operation which is okay for the future, so interoperability is a key factor. And that were the main principles.
Wonderful. Yes, great. Thomas, for you, what were your key principles you based the whole project on back then in 2016?
I think mainly the strong cooperation with the partners, as Alex also mentions, and open discussions to find the best solution together. Also on the driving routes, the opportunity positions close by to the public way, such that the vehicles can leave fastly again. And so there was a very good cooperation also with the installers, with the municipal, so getting the correct permits in proper time. So those were very important points to get that tight schedule implemented. And also, these were basically the first stages towards dynamic charging. So what we try to do is optimize the usage of the area and the depot in such a way that, for example, 2 vehicles behind one another are being charged with the same equipment. That is already a first step towards dynamic usage of the whole infrastructure that we basically already implemented back then.
If you talk about close and good cooperation, that means I would say that once you start a new adventure like you did all together, that it's not a question that you are going to blame someone if something goes wrong, because I can imagine lots of things went wrong, or at least unforeseen or unexpected.
Yeah, we're not put on paper in advance, so a lot
Yeah.
of things you have to
experience day by
and
day.
learn together.
Yeah.
So it was really about together finding a solution instead of blaming one another, and that really helped in progressing and finalizing the project in the manner eventually everybody intended. But when we started it, that wasn't completely fully clear.
Yeah.
Because we were learning
it
a lot
wasn't
on
written
the
down
way.
in a contract whatsoever. You needed to experience it,
Yep.
yes. And there we stand,
Yes.
5 years after the start of the operation. What would you say, Alex, are the most important lessons learned?
No, I must say very much in line with what Thomas also said. I think we all said, also the whole team, with all the companies and all the stakeholders involved, this is a challenge. But how can we make from this challenge an opportunity? Yeah, and in the best case, to change the opportunity also in advantages. How can we make the best advantages possible for the whole project? So we all knew from the beginning this is new, no experience at all. There was nobody in Europe having this experience. So we had to define the future for ourselves and to think very, very clear and open. And then this transparency and to be open with the stakeholders and with the colleagues from other companies, do it together. So this working together, the partnership was really a key topic to
A key
look at.
lesson learned, but there were more, for sure.
Yes, of course. The next thing was, and that was quite interesting because it's very much connected to the concessions we have in the Netherlands, is that you have the start of operations of a new concession is in fact, an overnight situation. So on a Saturday evening to the Sunday morning, the operation starts from the former operator to the new operator. Now, in this case, in both cases, it was Hermes. So that was quite easy, you think, but that's not true, because still we had to start on the Sunday morning with 43 electric articulated buses in the operations. First time. Now, we had some exercising before, but not the real operations. So the learning was also, hey, how can we not manage to bring 1 and 2 and 3 or 4 vehicles in operation,
all at once.
but all at once?
But how did you manage that? I mean, you were used to normal diesel introductions, but not this one. So how did you cope with this?
For this, we defined and we, in fact, we started a new role within the VDL organization, which is also then connected with Heliox and other partners, which is implementation management. We defined the implementation manager as a new role on public transport operations, because that was not existing with diesel vehicles, because everybody knew what to do with a new diesel bus, no problem at all. But now we had to manage all our new stakeholders. So we had to look after the drivers. The drivers are a very, very important stakeholder and a very important person in the operations. So we took the drivers, the mechanics, also the passengers, and later on also even the citizens. We included them in the team. How can we make this work? And then it's not about whose job, I'm the MD or I'm the project manager. No, it's about all colleagues together, define what you need, be very open and transparent to each other, and then together we can make it.
So that means that the feedback from, for example, the drivers has been of really great value.
Yes. The driver feedback was really great. And I think the role also of the drivers was nice, because I think everybody in the meanwhile knows this and all the experiences in other projects. But our experience from the beginning was giving the driver an electric bus. He will be very proud. He feels comfortable because he gets a product which is a lot better in operations than a diesel, because it's smoother, it's easier to drive, it's less noise. So he was really an ambassador for us on the e-mobility and involving the drivers also in the project. And that was a good step to make. So also for future projects, please involve your drivers.
All stakeholders, but certainly involve
the drivers are important, and of course also the other ones, the mechanics and the planning people and etc. But the drivers were a key message.
Wonderful, great to hear. Thomas, what would you consider as the key learnings from this project?
That it was not a client-supplier relation. So really the cooperation. We were there on site weekly together with the installers. Everybody that had something to do physically on the site was there to discuss how to solve things that were not thought of to that point. So that really helped. So the partnership. The products we developed there, so our new 2 times 30 kilowatt charging product and the smart switch that were both introduced in this new project, partly also because the project required such a solution, but also that was really new for us, and also how to make that interoperable. So as Alex already mentioned, we were looking for a solution that the Hermes could in future also use with other bus OEMs or charger manufacturers. But there were quite some new things that were not standardized yet. So then how to solve those? For example, waiting. The vehicles needed to have an extended waiting time to ensure that one vehicle could be charged, and during that period, a second vehicle that was aligned behind it that should be put in a waiting state and not stop the charging session. So all those things that were not implemented yet in standardization needed to be thought of, and we're also fed back into committees on how things change from a single vehicle charging to big depot charging. And what kind of impact does that have on communication and how to operate your fleet?
Yeah, but then talking about those chargers in the depot, they were new, the ones you installed, mostly even recently developed. So looking back to that installation and forward to the time to today, then what did you learn there?
Yeah, we learned a lot about what, for example, an installer has for requirements to such equipment, because they had to install quite a lot in a short period of time. So they needed to be informed prior to their installation in the field. So what we did there is invite them, show how the product looks like, and they immediately came up with their challenges in installing such a product in high numbers in the field, and how to come back to that and help them in easing that implementation for them.
For them, yes. Now we know that Assured is about interoperability between buses, other commercial vehicles, chargers, of course. Thomas, please give us an insight how important the Assured project has been in this particular case.
The Assured project gave us implementations in the field on what kind of issues are there, and how to tackle them. We had a lot of experience from this Eindhoven implementation, that could be used as feedback to standardizations going on in the Assured project, and how to make vehicles interoperable with our charging equipment and that of others.
Yeah, so it has been of a great value, you could say.
Yeah.
Now, Alex, as of today, we are looking at phase number 2 of the Eindhoven project, upscaling from 43 to 100 electric buses. Now, talking about this upscaling, would you say that this is just a simple matter of copy-paste what you have been doing in 2016?
No, not really. And it should also not be that way. I mean, it's copy-paste is, for some things, yes, some things we can still use what we had, but in general, we really upgraded the systems in general. We learned a lot, and it would be very wrong if we shouldn't use the experience for the future. So we are now five years already in operation. It looks like yesterday, to be honest. If you look at the video we've seen earlier, it's just yesterday, but it's 5 years ago already. So looking for the future, what did we learn? We have improved the vehicles, and we will come back to that one also later. So we used a lot of the experience for the new developments on the vehicle side, looking at energy consumption, looking at the climate systems, the vehicle itself, the new technology which is available, new components which are available. So really make a full zero-emission e-bus for the future. So that's one. Secondly, we're looking, of course, on improvements on the infrastructure, and Thomas will elaborate a little bit more on that and explain what we do. But it's also there on its charging infra. We're looking at how to make it more smart. How can we upgrade the system? How have more flexibility in the system? And both things, the vehicle and the charge infra, will lead to a better and more efficient operations. So we're really going a bit of the way from mitigating risk from the beginning, because it was a lot of risk in the beginning where there was a big challenge. Now we have a lot more experience, so we can focus more on efficiency and on reducing cost and to make it even better for the future. So that are the 3 things which I think are very important there.
Yeah. And then different, because of course, there is a lot improved over the last 5 years. So then what does that mean if you take all these improvements into account? What the main difference is in implementing really a new fleet today?
Yes, implementing, but you see more and more experience there. But it's also that the situation has changed. 5 years ago, it was innovation.
Yeah.
Today, and for sure in the western part of Europe, almost, not almost all, but a lot of the operations and concessions, new concessions, are zero-emission concessions.
Yeah.
So the fact that we introduced 43 electric vehicles in 2016 was a big moment
thing,
at that moment.
yeah.
And today, 43 vehicles is almost a standard, or even a very few vehicles. Most time is even more.
Yeah.
So the benchmark and the standards have changed a lot. And we're going here now more from, let's say, e-mobility to more, you can maybe call it i-mobility, to be a more smarter system for the future. So it will be zero emission. That's a fact. No discussion about that. Only the way how to make it more smart and more efficient, that's the next step.
Yeah. Well, that's a very remarkable, because you say in a way, if we look back in 2016, then it was more about innovation and novelty, but now we talk about a new standard.
Yes.
That's what you have achieved within 5 years, a new standard.
Yeah, and together with Assured. I mean, Assured
Of
is also,
course,
as the project
yes.
is defined, where we have now the new standards for the protocols for the interoperability between the vehicles and the charging infrastructure industry.
Yeah.
2016, we have had a project. If I look back in time, I think we started as an industry, and somewhere 2014, 15, we started to discuss about we need a standard for the future.
Yeah.
And having the standard today in operation and having a lot of concessions asking for the standard shows also that Assured is a very important project.
Yes, but what does it mean having a new standard now in 2022? What does that mean in the way decisions are being made?
Different, because as I already mentioned a little bit, it was more based on risk mitigation in the beginning, and now it's more about efficiency. So the operators and also the concession areas, they have more experience because we have a lot of data. We have gathered from all the operations in not only in Eindhoven region, but also in the other cities in Europe. We gathered a lot of information which we use to optimize, but also we use it also to make decisions. And just for Eindhoven, for example, we have now 5 years of operation, 5 years and 2 months. In the meanwhile, we have done in total 16.5 million kilometers of zero emission with the 43 vehicles, which is 76,000 kilometers per vehicle in average, which is a lot, but it's also the average. And it also shows that the project was very successful, because I think if we told the world in 2016, in December, that we will drive in 5 years' time 380 to 400,000 kilometers with an e-bus in the city of Eindhoven, everybody would say impossible. But we did it.
Keep on
and
dreaming.
I think
they would have said.
the whole team did that, and it's a great job. But it also gives us the information now.
Wow,
And also the operator, they're looking for the data, not only on a day basis, but also on a week or a month or a year basis. And they know what happens in the summer, they know what happens in the winter. And all those data they will use now in their new decisions for the next tenders.
Yeah, great. Well, Thomas, so more data available to define a more efficient operation. That's what you're aiming for. But how does that, in fact, what you are delivering and installing as Heliox?
Yeah, for example, to get to that cost effectiveness that is needed in the current market, and basically, we started off with mitigating risks, as Alex mentioned. So, for example, we had a grid connection of 10 MVA, so that would be for a future extension already prepared back in 2016. Of that 10 MVA, only 4.8 was used. In the form of 3 transformers that were installed, and the peak usage of the installation was 4 megawatts. And an average of 2 megawatts. So basically that shows you that the mitigation of the risks in the beginning of installing, preparing 10 MVA of installation, that's something that would not be done today. So back then we had a lot of safety margin in future extension, and now basically that average of 2 megawatts will be the power that will be installed in your implementation. And how you're going to time manage the usage of that energy towards your fleet without mitigating the operation. That's something of the current drivers needed to get these projects granted.
Yeah. Maybe this is a good moment to go and have a look how that flexible charging, how it works. Isn't it? Is that maybe a good moment that you want to say something beforehand?
Yeah, please. So basically the additional requirement for the products coming from that averaging of the energy usage from the grid connection basically means that the products used should mutually divide the power allowed by the grid connection to be used. So if at some point in time only a reserve number of energy capacity is available, that should be managed by the products in a flexible manner. So basically what Heliox came up with is a product that can either supply at one point a higher power level or a divided power level at multiple sites at the same time, based on either the requirements from the fleet, so the vehicles, or a limitation on, for example, the grid connection that is present there at that point in time.
We are going to watch a video to see how it works. See this. Okay, Thomas, well, this is a great video, but we, of course, are wondering, with this intelligent charger, does it also work on the 2016 VDL buses?
Yes, it does. So basically the charging on a first come, first serve basis, as we basically also did in the previous implementation, also works with these more intelligent flex charging system. But of course, more functionalities are possible with newer vehicles, such as scheduling and priority based. So one vehicle needs to drive out faster than the other, so it gets priority in its charging sequence. Things like that can be added in newer vehicles easier, but the basics of first come, first serve charging, yes, that also works in with the existing vehicles. Yeah.
Very important once we want to reach the goal of having one integrated fleet and not the separate fleets, of course.
Yeah,
I can imagine this is a great achievement. Yeah. Thomas, let us talk shortly maybe about the grid connection in Eindhoven, because has it got the right dimension for what's going to happen in this second phase?
Yeah, basically, as I just previously explained, the existing connection is proper for a further extension. But basically, what was the goal here is that not using the full extent of that 10 MVA, because that required a lot of medium voltage equipment installation, a lot of digging, excavation works. So what the intention was is to basically scale up the existing, scale up the operation with the existing connection. So basically that the transformers that are there now with 1.6 MVA of capacity each, they will be used to their fullest throughout the operation. So basically the limits of the existing installation will be searched, basically will be investigated, to ensure that with strict load management, with proper scheduling, the dynamic grid usage can be implemented without having the need to further increase the grid loading. So adding a lot of intelligence to the system, so to minimize usage of peak grid connections.
Yes. And making the grid suitable then for the new operation of the new integrated fleet. Yes.
Yep.
Now, Alex, so many lessons learned is what we do learn here this afternoon. And then one could wonder, where has this resulted in at VDL Bus & Coach?
It resulted in a new vehicle range. We already defined in 2015-16 that we will need a new zero emission product portfolio for the future. So already beginning with Eindhoven, we knew we have to change in the future, and that's what we did. So we developed a complete new Citea range, new generation, which we introduced last year already as in the press conference, and will be out in the operations end of this year.
Yeah.
And I think we can watch a short video about the new product.
Let's do so,
Good.
to see how it looks.
Innovation is in our DNA, and we are constantly working on new technologies when it comes to public transport. More innovative, more sustainable, and always future-proof. Because we believe that innovative technology can make the difference for people, cities, society, and the environment. We have developed a new public transport platform from scratch, one that's up to any challenge, where energy transition is key and zero emission the standard, without any compromise. For this platform, we relied on years of experience and expertise. Based on over 100 million electric kilometers, this helped us to create a brand new and innovative bus concept, different in every way. It's completely designed around an electric driveline, where design meets technology, and compromise is not an option. This resulted in an optimal layout, weight distribution, and passenger capacity, but also in a concept that is ready for future solutions, such as connectivity and the next step to autonomous driving. We set high standards for our impact on the environment. That's why this concept helps to reduce our CO2 footprint. And it allows us to integrate new thinking and technologies from scratch, setting the standard for sustainable production, bringing together innovation, expertise, knowledge, and industrial thinking. The new concept brings together form and function. The result? A vehicle that is modern and aerodynamic, realizing maximum passenger comfort and a safer journey than ever before. Perfect for the livable cities of tomorrow. The right number of passengers, an efficient vehicle layout, a lightweight construction, and a perfect weight distribution all play their part in realizing the optimal total cost of ownership. How did we achieve this? Based on our vision, experience, and expertise, we were able to develop a total bus concept that goes beyond zero, and to create a future-proof public transport platform, all designed without sacrificing the essential things that matter. This is the new generation Citea, zero compromise.
So, Alex, this is the vehicle Eindhoven will get?
Yes, this is the vehicle Eindhoven will get. So Eindhoven will be one of the first cities having the new generation Citea in operation.
Yeah.
So we will deliver 32 city buses, 12-meter city buses to Eindhoven, which will take care of the city operations in the city itself. I think the video explains a lot by itself. We really started from scratch with developing a new vehicle product based on all the things we learned from Eindhoven and the other cities where we are operating over the last years. And you see it's also based now really on a zero-emission drive. So we are not having any diesel engine anymore in the product portfolio. It will be full zero-emission, full electric-driven vehicles. And it's saying, I think it's also great to see that it's so flexible. So it is a product portfolio with different length variants, different operational possibilities, but still in a very modular system, modular way. Eindhoven shows it very clearly also. I think what you see is now that we have chosen for Eindhoven the vehicle, which is 12 meters, where we have designed the vehicle with a battery which is 306 kilowatt hours for the Eindhoven operations, with a pantograph charging, which fits very well in what we did in 2016 started and now in operations for the next years. But it is also the fact that this vehicle and this battery is not the maximum we can do. We can also have the same vehicle, 12 meter, with a 490 kilowatt hour battery. So we can go for a much larger battery in this vehicle, but we don't do it. So this also shows that we're looking basically on all the experience we have with Eindhoven and with the operator to have the best fit of the vehicle together with the charging facility. So just taking the biggest battery is not the solution. You have to find a way how you can optimize your operations the best possible way, how you can have a better TCO, total cost of operation, for the operator. Yeah. That's the goal. And that's what we have also developed in the new generation of Citea.
Yeah.
Next to this, also good to mention, if future-wise, and we see it more and more, the demand for rural operations, so operations in the intercity.
Longer distances.
Longer distances, we see more and more demands there. Also, this vehicle range is available for that, and we can cope with longer routes, with also then bigger batteries because we have less possibility to charge. So we have more, let's say, time between charge sessions, but you can have the range available. So it's a modular system ready for the future, and Eindhoven will have 32 buses in operation very soon.
Very soon, yes. Exciting times ahead, Thomas, with lots of innovations. But are there things that will remain the same?
Yes, of course. I think the cooperation, the strong being there in the field to do the implementation, things like that will definitely be the same. And also with the reference document on interoperability by the Assured project, that will help in defining how the projects need to be implemented, and then together with the experience that we have from these different implementations, that will definitely help us forward.
Yeah. And Alex, what for VDL will remain the same?
Yeah, the same, the partners. I think in this case for Eindhoven, the partners will be the same. So that's great to see. So and in that way we succeeded very, very good altogether. But what's not the same is not a disruption anymore, but there are still challenges. So the amount of challenges will be different. And also the challenge itself will be different, but they're still there. And we need to make the next steps. So we have to go for 2025, full zero emission in at least the Eindhoven region. But for Europe, you have to go to 2030 all over. So yes, we still have challenges, but in a different way and on a different level.
Yeah. Finally, Thomas, let's talk briefly about the future of chargers and charging. What would you say, what has got future in store for us?
Yeah, a few different things. Grid support. So basically, with all these implementations, you ask a lot from the local grid connections. Congestion, especially in the Netherlands, is a very big item. The grid is full, basically. You can't see it. It's not physical, but it's there.
But it is there. Yeah.
So grid balancing requirements will become more and more stringent. So basically, meaning that you have to look at what's available on the grid at this point in time. Is there some solar installation generating a lot of electricity that we can use, or is there a battery storage next to the implementation that can be used to charge vehicles? So it will be much more dynamic. It will not be a central generation of electricity towards all kinds of stakeholders, such as this depot, but it will be more distributed generation and usage of the electricity. That will be very important. And in addition to that, the bidirectional need of a charger. So basically, when the grid needs support from either a fleet of vehicles, a battery that's being installed, or a solar plant next by, the charger should be able to be used bidirectional to support the grid once it's needed to optimize
there again
usage and minimize congestion at that point in the grid connection. Additionally, the interaction with buses, so scheduling, predicting their routes, knowing when a charging point should be available for an incoming vehicle, that's also something that will be much more important in future installations and implementations.
Exciting times. For Heliox, for sure, and also, of course, for VDL. Because Alex, if we take a glimpse to the full picture, what would the future of e-mobility look like?
I think already as it is today in the Netherlands and in more and more countries in Europe, it's about full zero emission fleets. It's about mixed fleets. We see more and more mixed fleets. I think also the Groningen project in the Netherlands is also known in the Assured project itself, where we already have three vehicle brands in operation on the same fleet or the same charging infra. So one fleet, three brands, one charging infra. So Assured is also there already in operation. So we have interoperability available. So it will be the future about mixed fleets, about scaling up very fast in high quantities of vehicles and high quantities also in charging in locations. And mainly, I think also Thomas mentioned it very well, the grid is maybe the biggest challenge there. We are more flexible from the industry to provide the vehicles and the infrastructure and charging, but the grid, that's the next step, because you see so much volume and quantities arising in the cities. That's the main challenge there. But it's great that Assured is supporting us there. And I think this is one of the last events of Assured where we show that it's positive and that we are having a real operation.
I do thank you both so very much for joining and for giving us all this information, the update given on the Eindhoven project so far. You told us how it started, you told us what you consider as the key success factors and learnings. And I think, ladies and gentlemen, that you do agree with me that these two gentlemen, they really showed us their full dedication and their conviction that we are truly on our way to a future-proof, sustainable public transport. I do thank you very much for watching this live stream, and I would like to say, keep up doing good. Thank you very much for attending. Bye.